Hey friends, welcome back to Homestead on a Prayer. I just want to say today is going to be one of those real life videos. Now, it can be really tempting to try to make my garden completely perfect for you guys and just try to impress everyone with the perfect garden. But this is real life. I don't have the perfect garden. There are so many things that go wrong. Some of them are completely outside my control. You know, there's things that happen in the garden that you really can't do anything about. Some of them, honestly, are within my control and they've still gone wrong. Now this year, in addition to, the normal busyness of everyday life that kind of interferes with, the quest for the perfect garden and the perfect harvest, had a little unexpected complication this year. Let me show you. So right in the middle of garden season, I broke my toe. So if I had to break my toe, I wish that it was at least an interesting story. I play basketball in my town, and injuring myself playing basketball would have sounded much cooler than, what actually happened, which was that I was kind of in a rush to get dinner on the table. I ran down to my garage to where I keep some of my extra pantry ingredients to grab some chicken broth, and turned around and just smashed my foot on a wooden platform we have in the garage there. So unfortunately, not even an interesting story to tell. And that just felt like pretty much the worst possible timing. Not that there is a good time to break your toe or injure yourself in any way. But, if this had happened during winter, I was just thinking about how much less it would have interfered with my life. Of course, it had to happen during summer when I've got the garden going, when I have all these fun things planned that I want to do with my kids. And honestly, it's not that bad of a break. I think it's going to heal up pretty quickly. And as you can see, I got my nice, stylish, broken toe boot in the mail yesterday. So that's going to allow me to at least walk around the garden a little bit. Now, I have been taking care of myself. I have been resting inside to try to stay off my feet as much as possible. My toe is actually healing pretty quickly, so I don't think it'll be too long till I'm fully back on my feet. But in the meantime, there are some things in the garden that would really just be described as garden fails, mid-season garden fails, I guess. So I'm just going to take you guys around. We're going to hobble through the garden together, and I'll show you some of the stuff I have going wrong this year. Now down here at the base of this trellis, I had planted a bunch of red noodle beans. You can see that I did not have the greatest germination with those. Now the germination, of course, I couldn't really have done anything about, but had I been more on top of things, I would have replanted and probably put some sort of barrier to prevent whatever has been. I misspoke before when I said poor germination. That wasn't the issue. The issue was that they germinated and were immediately eaten. So if I'd been on top of things, I would have replanted sooner and probably put up some sort of barrier to prevent whatever was eating them from getting to them. Now over here at the base of this trellis, I have a similar problem. This time it is actually germination that's the issue. You can see on the other side of the trellis here, I have some melons that have germinated. I planted 4 seeds and 3 of them germinated. On the other side, I didn't get any germination. Now what I would have done there if I had been on top of things was I would have taken a few seeds inside my house and I would have germinated them in some moist paper towels inside a baggie, then brought them out here and transplanted them out. I think I probably still will end up doing that, but I'm obviously delayed on that. So honestly, in this garden over here, I'm having trouble with all 3 of my trellises. There've been a mix of poor germination and seedlings being eaten as soon as they germinate. So I'm hoping that I'll still be able to achieve the goal of having these trellises over here be really beautiful. So we'll see what happens. Now, kind of going along with the same theme, you can see I have a bunch of seedlings over here. These are a mix of cucumbers and various types of winter squash. These were all planted with the purpose of replacing other plants that hadn't germinated. Now, because it's already late enough in the season for these seedlings to go out, I was not planning on growing them very large in these pots. I mainly just wanted to give them a chance to germinate and to start to get just a little bit of a root system established. And then I was planning to transplant them out to a few spots in the garden. Ideally, I would have transplanted them out a few days ago, but that was right around the time I broke my toe, and so they're going to have to sit in these pots a little bit longer. So hopefully they'll be okay and won't get root bound. So just one of those things. I think in this case the situation was actually unavoidable, but it's just more evidence that the garden does not always go as planned. So these here are silver slicer cucumbers. These are supposed to go out in my main garden on that trellis down the middle of the bed where my silver slicers were eaten. For some reason, whatever has been eating them on the ground hasn't really gotten to them in the pots. It did eat, you can see I have 6 pots here. I have 4 good plants. I had another one that germinated. That one did get eaten, and then one that didn't germinate. These all are honey nut squash. I was having trouble getting those to germinate in the ground, but they seem to have germinated fine in the pots. And then these plants in this tray here were all started inside using the paper towel and baggie method that I mentioned. So we've got more silver slicer cucumbers, some butternut squash, and some honey nut squash. Those should all go out pretty soon. Through here I've got lots of chamomile that I should have been harvesting, and I actually think I will be able to do this job. Now that I've got my handy little walking boot, I think I can come out here and harvest this at least. So something will get done. So the situation with this little apple tree behind me is a definite fail so far this year. You can see I have it just kind of haphazardly wrapped in hardware cloth. That's because I didn't get to it fast enough and the deer came and decided to nibble on the branches. Now, to be honest, I cannot blame all of this on the broken toe because this should have been dealt with before I broke my toe. So I'm going to blame that on busyness, but I was actually planning to do this over the last couple days and, you know, life happens. So for now, I just have it kind of haphazardly wrapped in this hardware cloth, but you can see I have this whole big circle dug out around it and prepped. This is eventually going to be an apple tree guild, and there's another one over on the side that you can't see over there. So I have 2 that are basically in the same situation. I have the plants that I'm planning to plant in this apple tree guild, which I'm really excited about. It's a permaculture concept, which the ultimate goal is to basically promote the health of this apple tree, but it has some benefits of giving me some extra little side harvests as well. So I was actually planning to plant all this and film a video of this a few days ago, but I didn't get to that in time. So it's going to have to hold off a little bit until my toe is healed enough that I can be digging and planting. But again, you know, this is something that I really meant to get to back in April or May, and, you know, life just happens. So this is a big garden fail so far this year. Hoping we can still turn this one around and turn it into a success, but stay tuned and we'll see what happens with that one. So I don't want to show everything in the garden because I am planning on filming a garden tour probably within the next couple days, but let's head on over here and take a look at these tomatoes. So as we take a look at these tomato plants, you can see this has turned into an untamed jungle. Tomato plants growing through the fence. I've got suckers that I haven't pinched off that are getting huge. I've got tomatoes that are not tied up. This tomato has actually fallen down and is now crawling around the ground. So it has gotten wild out here. So every garden season starts off with the best intentions of actually keeping my tomato plants under control. But every year, something always happens that makes me lose track of them a little bit. And it's definitely happened this year. I'm going to say more than usual, so they're a little crazy. So I think I probably can come out here and do a little bit of tomato work as long as I'm careful. So over the next couple days, I'm going to try to get a little bit of that done. So right in here is a tiny sucker that's just formed, and we'll go ahead and pinch that out, and at least we've made a little bit of difference here. But as you can see, here's a full-size sucker that I let go. Definitely too long. Tomato plants are all having multiple stems. Here's another big sucker. I may end up coming out and clipping these, and I can actually root these to get more tomato plants, because that is definitely what I need right now, is more tomato plants, right? Okay, so here's another epic fail. If you saw my video a couple days ago, we harvested a bunch of these medicinal herbs together, and they were so beautiful. And I said I had set up my herb dryer outside. I was going to dry them outside because it wasn't supposed to rain 4 days. Well, the forecast drastically changed, and I think it was the night after I harvested them, it unexpectedly poured that night. So my drying herbs, I think, are pretty much toast. So these are going to end up being compost instead. Thankfully, all the herbs that I harvested here grow pretty quickly, so I should be able to get another harvest of these later in the year. But yeah, so sometimes the weather is wrong, sometimes the weather prediction is wrong, and you just have to roll with it and make the best. I guess that's the risk that I took drying them outside instead of in my house to try to save a little space. Okay. So I know this is a garden fails video, but I just wanted to appreciate this pretty little nasturtium flower. This is the first that this plant has bloomed. It was from a mix, so I'm excited to see what color that flower is. So that looks really pretty. Now along this trellis here, down here behind my zucchinis, that's where those silver slicer, or some of those silver slicer cucumbers that I showed you are going to go. So as soon as I'm feeling up to it, I'm going to get out here and plant those cucumbers along this fence here. And over here, you can see more evidence of tomatoes going completely crazy. This is actually, I think, the main part of the plant that came through the fence and is now crawling along the ground. So this is going to be really fun to try to untangle and fix. Okay, so this isn't a fail either, but the milkweed is blooming and nothing to me smells like fresh milkweed. Such a beautiful smell. And I'm hoping, we usually don't get monarchs until later in the season here in Connecticut, but I'm hoping that we'll end up with some monarchs later this year. So one thing I am really thankful for is the rain. I know that did lead to a fail when it came to my herbs that I set outside to dry. But overall, I am still thankful for it because I'm not sure how much I would have been able to get out here and water my garden. But it has rained pretty consistently for the last week or so. And I have not always been thankful for that rain in the moment. But overall, I am thankful for it because I haven't been able to water my garden. And that has really kept my garden going even when I wasn't there to water it. So this little corner here is something that I have been meaning to get to for pretty much since we finished this garden here. So you can see we have a little triangle here. I need to cover this with landscape fabric. I need to cover it with wood chip mulch to match the pathway. Once I get that all covered and mulched, I do have some pots that I want to put there. That's a project I've been meaning to get to for a while. I'm planning to do a little trio of pots to kind of mirror the trio I have in the opposite corner of the garden. So I'm thinking I'm going to do probably a tomato plant in a big pot, maybe a few potatoes in another big pot, and then I haven't decided what's going to go in the third pot yet, maybe a cucumber or squash. But I think in the far corner of the garden I have basically just some ornamental plants, and over here I think I'm going to do some more edibles. So that is the honest current state of my garden. Lots of things out of control, lots of things I need to deal with. But I really do want to make sure that I take the time to actually just let my toe heal, because as hard as it is to not deal with all that stuff right away, I know that I'll get better faster if I just let it be. So I am doing my best to let it go as much as possible. I have been soaking my foot in a strong comfrey infusion that I've been making, which basically, it's like a strong herbal tea, except instead of drinking it, I soak my foot in it, and I think that has actually been helping a lot. So I guess it is giving me a chance to practice a little bit of the herbal medicine that I've been learning. So walking through the garden with you guys, I know this was really a fail video, but I actually did see a lot that's going right too. I tried to not point too much out because I am planning on filming a garden tour. Hopefully in the next day or two I'll be able to get that filmed and get that up for you guys. I think that I'll be able to do that, and I don't think it'll be too hard. So I hope you guys are having a great day. I hope that your gardens are doing well, and that even in the parts of your gardens that may not be doing as well, that you'll still be able to find a silver lining in all of that. So overall, I will say, even with the great amount of neglect that my garden has had this summer, I still am overall happy with how it's doing. And I hope that it's the same for you and your garden. So I hope you're having a great day, and I can't wait to see you soon. I'll see you next time.